Today, we are digging into something pretty radical. It's called the sine wave framework. The whole idea, according to our source material, is that there's this single universal pattern, like a secret code, that governs everything. And I mean everything, from atomic friction all the way to how we store data.
So let's just start with this huge question. What if one single shape could solve, well, pretty much everything? Physics, material science, energy, data, all of it. Yeah, I know it sounds like something straight out of a movie, but trust me, the case for it is absolutely fascinating.
And you know where the proof of concept for this whole thing started? In the most unexpected place you can imagine. A really weird-looking wheel. It's called the shark wheel. And its strange, wavy geometry, that's the key. That's what supposedly unlocks this entire way of thinking.
Right. Section 1, a universal geometry. So this weird wheel leads us to this massive idea. Could there be a universal geometry? Some hidden pattern in nature that we've just been missing all this time.
And this quote right here, this really gets to the heart of it all. The argument is that this framework gets results that conventional science really struggles with. And for one simple reason. It's because conventional science doesn't start with the shape. It starts with chemistry or physics. This starts with geometry. It's a totally different way of looking at the world.
Okay, so Section 2, the 3 principles. If you're going to claim you have a universal framework, well, it's got to have rules, right? So let's break down the 3 core principles that make this whole thing tick.
All right, here we go. First up, alternating wake cancellation. The easiest way to think about this is like your noise-canceling headphones. You have 2 waves that meet perfectly out of sync, and poof, they just cancel each other out. And this is how the framework claims to get rid of things like friction. Next, we have amplitude tuning. This one's pretty cool. It basically says you can change how a material behaves, like its strength, just by tweaking its underlying wave pattern. And finally, toroidal closure. When a wave loops back on itself in 3 dimensions, it forms a donut shape, a toroid. And this shape, it's incredibly stable. All the forces are perfectly balanced, pushing and pulling against each other. So remember these 3, okay? They are the keys to everything we're about to see.
Okay, now for the really fun point, the evidence. Section 3. The source material calls these the 15 Killshots. We're talking about 15 different areas where applying these principles leads to results that are, well, they're just astonishing. Let's run through a few of them.
All right, Killshot number 1.
So the challenge? Get to absolute zero friction. And the setup is just stacking 2 different atomic layers, graphene and HBN. Now, think of the pattern of atoms in each layer as its own little wave. The trick is to twist that top layer just so at exactly 0.88 degrees. When you do that, you get the atomic waves perfectly out of phase, perfectly set up for that wake cancellation we just talked about.
And the result? Well, here it is, straight from the source. The coefficient of friction drops to absolute zero. Let that sink in. 2 solid materials sliding across each other with zero energy loss. We're not talking about reducing friction here. We're talking about erasing it. And all you did was change the angle.
Okay, let's jump to a totally different world. Killshot number 7. This time, we're talking about plastics.
The idea here is to literally force cheap plastic to tie itself into a knot on a molecular level. And how do you do it? Well, you mix 2 everyday polymers at a super precise ratio, 33.3 to 66.7, and then you apply just the right amount of pressure. And those specific conditions, that precise geometry, it forces the molecular change to coil up into those super stable donut shapes, those toroids.
The result is insane. The strength of this cheap plastic triples. Instantly, it starts behaving like Kevlar, just because of geometry. These tiny interlocked knots completely change the material, making it almost impossible to just pull apart.
Okay, let's pause here for a second, because this is so important. On the one hand, you've got zero atomic friction. On the other, the source points to getting zero magnetic resistance. 2 totally different problems, right? Wrong. Look closer. The underlying principle is exactly the same. Wake cancellation. It's one idea, one geometric trick, solving problems at completely different scales. That's the whole point.
All right, let's keep going. Killshot number 11. Now we're jumping into the world of light.
So what's the goal this time? Just trap light. Forever. And the method sounds almost too simple. You take a cheap piece of silicon and you just etch tiny holes into it. But here's the magic. The spacing. The distance between those holes has to be the light's wavelength divided by the golden ratio, 1.618. Get that geometry right, and you force the light wave into one of those self-sustaining toroidal loops. And the result? According to the source, it's literally perfection. The Q factor, which is just a fancy way of saying how long a thing can hold on to energy, becomes mathematically infinite. That means the light isn't just trapped for a long time, it's trapped forever. There's no way out. Not because of some fancy mirror, but because the geometry itself has sealed every single exit.
And that brings us to our last example, Killshot number 15. This one could change the future of how we store data.
We're talking about something called skyrmions. Think of them as tiny, super stable magnetic tornadoes. Now, normally, creating these things is a huge pain. You need crazy conditions like temperatures near absolute zero. But this framework, it suggests a much, much simpler way. Just stack exactly 3 atomic layers of cobalt between 2 layers of platinum. That's it. Not 2, not 4. The magic number is 3.
And here's the unbelievable payoff. You do that, and stable skyrmions just form. On their own, spontaneously, at room temperature, with no magnets needed. Just by counting to 3, you create the perfect geometric tension for these things to pop into existence. This is a legitimate holy grail in physics, and the key is just simple counting, simple geometry.
Okay, let's recap. We've seen friction vanish, cheap plastic turn into Kevlar, and light get trapped forever. So now let's pull back for the big finish. Section 4, the universal test.
This right here, this is the whole argument in a nutshell. What's the test for a truly universal framework? It's when it starts making accurate predictions in fields it was never ever designed for. I mean, think about it. The geometry of a weird skateboard wheel was never supposed to tell you how to get zero friction, or how to make super strong plastic, or how to create magnetic tornadoes at room temperature.
And yet, the pattern is there. The source claims the wave is there every single time at every scale you can imagine. The same principles, again and again and again. So what we have here is a case built on what the source material claims is just overwhelming consistency. It all leads to this one final fascinating question. We've seen where this pattern shows up. So now we have to ask ourselves, if the wave really is there, what do we find next?